Hey guys, and welcome back to another Lost Bits video right here on TetraBitGaming, the series where we explore the unused, altered, and unseen content in gaming. This week, as I make this video, officially marks 5 years since the initial release of Bloons TD 6, the latest in the long-running Bloons series. And to help out in today's video, I'm joined by EazySpeezy, who's certainly done his fair share of speedrunning this game.
Hey everyone, Bloons TD 6 has a good amount of unused bits of content for us to explore, from unused graphics to abilities, so let's get to them.
And as a quick disclaimer, since this game is still being actively updated as we're making this, chances are some things discussed in this video may get added in a future update, or more things may get removed, so keep that in mind if you're watching this in like 2025 or whatever. Also, if you enjoyed this video and want to see me cover Bloons 1 through 5 in the future, be sure to drop a like and let me know in the comments. Anyways, enough monkeying around. Go grab your darts, it's time to return to Monkey and find some lost bits. Alright, so first kicking things off, this game has a few unused stages or tracks. The first of these is known simply as BTD1. Unsurprisingly, based on the name, you might remember this track if you've played the original Flash game back in the day. And this is of course the lone stage that's present in the original game. In earlier builds of BTD6, circa early 2018, assets including the model for the stage as well as the thumbnail meant for the level select screen were still left in, but as of today, these have been removed from the game. The map model for this stage also contains several decorative objects such as a windmill and some houses and flowers that would later be seen used in other maps in the game. Because of this, it's believed that BTD1 here was only used for testing and may not have been meant to actually be a proper stage. And to support this notion, there are 2 test maps, both of which have the same path layout as BTD1, known as Test Map and Test Water Map, respectively.
Then the other major track that was scrapped from BTD 6 is simply known as Monkeys in Space, and as you'd expect, this is a stage that would have taken place in a space setting, and apparently, this setting is the reason this stage was removed. Although not officially confirmed, allegedly this stage was scrapped since Stephen Harris, one of the founders of Ninja Kiwi, the studio behind the Bloons series, really doesn't like space maps. This map was to feature 2 chord paths on the top and lower section, some box obstacles, as well as what looks to be a small pool of water in the middle.
And apparently, this stage was going to be intermediate in terms of difficulty. Just like with BTD1, assets for this map, like the model and texture files, also used to be in the game, but they too have all been removed. Now before we move on to the many unused and altered graphics in BTD6, there are numerous bits of text that are still left over or have been removed that reveal many currently unused aspects of the game, including unused targeting types and even a currently unreleased tower unit. Anyways, first up are descriptions for every single regular unit activated ability in the game. Now, most of these descriptions can be seen when viewing the abilities of each unit, but apparently there is a second set of these text strings that are separate from those that are used. And although most of them are the same as currently seen, a few of them have what looks to be an older description that shows us how these abilities were once planned to be implemented earlier in development.
For example, the unused description of the Sniper's Elite Defender ability still states that the ability increases attack speed by a factor of 2, when in the current game it actually increases the attack speed by a factor of 4. Or there's the description for a scrapped activated ability for the Prince of Darkness Wizard Monkey that was called Soulbind, which was meant to buff the undead Bloons made from the Necromancer Monkey's ability. Interestingly, there are also instances of the description text not matching up with the ability in question, like here, the unused description for the Alchemist Transforming Tonic appears to be a description of an early version of the Druid's Jungle Bounty ability, where instead of generating 200 currency plus another 100 per banana farm near the unit, it would have instead boosted the nearby farms by 50% for a short time.
Furthermore, there's unused text for Depleted Bloontonium, an upgrade for the Dartling Gunner that was used in BTD5. This upgrade was fused into the Hydra Rocket Pod's ability, but since this text is here, it's entirely possible it was once kept as a separate upgrade. Next, there are several text strings for targeting types that are never normally seen or selectable by the player, but some of them are actually used internally as part of certain monkey upgrades. Now, normally, you can choose to target the first, strongest, closest Bloon, stuff like that, with some special priority options for a few other units like the Monkey Ace, but like I said, there are numerous other target priorities that you can't normally see or select. These include shared range, alternate priorities for the submarines with the advanced intel perk, being able to prioritize targets at random, specifically targeting Moabs, a specific target type for the necromancers, something called target tag, track or default, which is apparently what's used as part of the alchemist's asset pool ability. There's friendly target, which I speculate would target the same thing as another unit does, but who knows, maybe it would actually target another monkey unit, and many more. Yeah, it's currently unclear how exactly most of these targeting types would work, so we're only really left to speculate. But the most interesting one though, I think, is what appears to be a scrapped targeting type known as Custom Path. Now this one is believed to be a cut targeting mode for the Monkey Ace units in which the player could draw their own custom flight path for the planes to follow. This was apparently scrapped due to it being confusing, visually unappealing, and apparently overpowered. I assume if the player were to draw an incredibly concentrated path that would have the plane essentially hovering in place.
Now lastly for the unused text, there's a bunch of it that belongs to a currently unreleased unit apparently called the Monkey Academy. It looks to be a support class, and its base description here reads, Place of Monkey Education and Training, grants powerful benefits for military, magic, and hero monkeys, generates a small amount of hero XP every round. It appears each upgrade path would focus on a category of units, either military, magic, or heroes. Some abilities here would include reducing the footprint of military units, I assume allowing to place more units closer together, improving range, power, and resale value, generating more hero XP, and even the crazy ability to summon a second hero.
This unit does sound pretty similar to the Monkey Village, which could be part of why this academy isn't implemented, but I think it's different enough that it could still have its own place in the game. And yeah, who knows, it very well still might get added into the game in a future update. In fact, as of the more recent version 36.0 update to the game, this Monkey Academy graphic was actually added, so it may end up getting added sooner than later here. Next up are a few currently unused monkey knowledge upgrades. First are 4 for the military path, and these all carry this green dart icon. We got Broad Blade Dartlings, which would allow for Dartling gunner shots to hit more easily, Dartling Coolant, which would increase Dartling attack speed by 10%, Focused Plasma, which would make the Plasma Accelerator deal damage faster, and finally, more Buckshot, which would allow for the Buckshot to shoot 5 projectiles. This last one is pretty weird, since by default, the Buckshot already shoots 6 projectiles. And I don't think this was meant to be a downgrade, so maybe at some point the planned base number of projectiles was less than 5. Then there are 2 unused monkey knowledge upgrades for support units which have the same dart icon, only brown this time. Elite Tutor would generate an extra 15 XP for the hero per round, and Long Graduation has the effect of an academy graduate lasting longer. I guess this one was meant for the unused Monkey Academy. And then lastly for the monkey knowledge is Ambidextrous Rangs, which was actually in the game from the version 18 update up until version 22, where the given ability for the boomerang monkey to switch hands as a targeting option was added as a default. This upgrade is now replaced by Recurring Rangs, and as such, the name Ambidextrous Rangs as well as its text description go completely unused.
And now for the last stop, let's talk unused graphics, as there are quite a few in BTD6 that go unused or have been altered over the years. For the altered ones, there are the hero icons for Striker Jones, Captain Churchill, Azili, Pat Fusty, and my boy Benji. Interestingly, all the original icons were present in the game since its launch, including the heroes that weren't yet implemented. Now some of these icons saw minor changes like different lighting or small detail changes like here of Striker Jones, but some were more involved. For Captain Churchill, his goggles looked quite different, his helmet used to match the color of his tank, the antenna didn't have a red tip, and the color and angle of the barrel was also changed.
Then Pat Fusty appears to have basically the same design, but his pose used to be completely different in this early version. This is likely since A, his fist takes up more of the icon than the rest of him does here, or B, since although his fist was once planned to glow when using his Rallying Roar ability as is seen in concept art, it never actually does glow like this in the game. Benji's pose was flipped, the old icon has more of his computer visible, and he used to sport some cool shades on his head, And finally, for Azili, the pose was yet again changed, but in addition to adding her stick, the design on her forehead was also changed, as was her hairstyle, and these tiny points on her eyelids were also removed. I think both sets of icons here look pretty cool, so I don't really feel any strong affinity towards either one of them. Next is this unused icon for an extreme difficulty tier of tracks. This difficulty was seen in BTD 5, so it's kind of odd to not have it implemented here in 6. Furthermore, for a time, this icon was used in the Ninja Kiwi Discord server as a Nemo, so who knows, maybe around that time they had some sort of plans on adding this difficulty level into the game.
Then next up are a few unused hero level badges, the ones seen in the hero's info menus. There are 7 different badges in the game, but currently only 4 of them, numbers 3, 4, 6, go used as seen in the menus. As such, hero level badges 1, 2, and 5 just don't get used. The first 2 are bronze tier medals, which don't get seen at all, and 5 is another gold tier one. Next is an early texture set for Captain Churchill. Everything seems to be touched up with some cleaner art compared to his early version, from the treads to the barrel, his helmet, and more. This texture set also appears to be the one that was used in the icon we went over earlier, as we can see the old banana logo, old goggles, lack of a red antenna, and of course the old helmet.
And while we're on the topic of early unused graphics, we got several more to talk about. Although the texture for the marine monkey from the heli pilot contains the current textures for the crates dropped by the support Chinook, early and unused crate textures can be found amongst the actual support Chinook unit. And just based on how they look here, we can tell these are really early textures. Additionally, the monkey crate uses the old icon for the NK coins, the currency used on the Ninja Kiwi website in the past, and the heart graphic here is apparently one that was used in BTD 5. I can only assume that these were used as a placeholder until the updated textures were added. Now next up is this rocket graphic that appears to be yet another placeholder texture. This rocket was duplicated under several names, and interestingly, the top part of it was also cut off and the color was removed for yet another unused graphic, just known as Bullet. Again, probably yet another placeholder. Both of these were left over in the game up until the version 24 update, where they were finally removed. Also removed in that update is this blue shuriken that used to be seen under 2 names. Both of these names suggest that this might have been the shuriken that the ninja monkey was to use when upgrading to the Seeking shuriken, but instead in the final, just the regular one continues to be thrown. Then next are several placeholder graphics that were meant to be used with the Dartling gunner.
We got lasers, beams, a plutonium dart, some rockets, and buckshots. All of these look pretty basic, so they, again, were likely just placeholders. These were all only kicking around in the files from the version 9 update to version 12, and the Dartling gunner wouldn't get introduced to the game all the way until version 22, sporting completely different graphics for each of these projectiles.
And similarly, there are a number of other early projectiles for the Monkey Ace that never go used. We got several missiles, including the Tsar Bomba, as well as a pineapple. Next, we have a set of now unused early graphics for the Wizard Monkey's upgrade icons. There's early graphics for Arcane Blast, Arcane Spike, Arcane Mastery, Gilded Magic, which seems to be a misspelling of Guided Magic, and also Intense Magic. Now these look very basic compared to the rest of the upgrade icons in the game, so it's no surprise that these were updated. And similarly, there are also some unused buffing icons for the Sniper Monkeys for when the Elite Defender ability is active. And on this one, that would indicate an increased distance for the snipers, which doesn't really make sense since they already have infinite range in their line of sight.
While on the topic of Elite Defenders, although not unused or anything, interestingly, their appearance in the Insta-Monkey icon appear to show an alternate, potentially earlier design for them. The goggles look a tad different, they would seemingly have some more orange on their clothing, and probably the biggest notable change is that their rifle is also seemed equipped with a bipod here.
Now next, there are a bunch of unused early graphics for several monkey towers seen when clicking on them, and these were apparently from earlier pre-release builds of the game.
First, there are a set of them for the Monkey Village. Notable changes include the coloring and shading being more basic across the board, some lack the campfire seen in the final graphics, an alternate satellite dish for the Grow Blocker update, both dish towers are seen red here instead of gray or blue, the drums have a much different look, and this, which was apparently the Monkey Commerce upgrade, had a blank sign not shaped and designed like a banana, and the door was nice and red instead of green.
Then this early version of the Spike Factory icon appears to show a more similar look, but the nails appear to have a rounded head instead of the more squared off ones, and of course it looks like this is seen from a slightly different angle. And then lastly, there are several unused icons for the banana farm. Across the board here, the unused style looks quite different in terms of design, as they appear to much more resemble a 3D model rather than the final designs, which definitely look more drawn. Some of the lower upgrade levels also have the farm seen from a different angle. The increased and greater production and banana plantation upgrades had these pipes coming off the side, which aren't seen in the final icons. Then, although the marketplace looks relatively similar to the final counterpart, just at a slightly different angle, the monkey bank looks way less finished here, and the same goes for the rest of the unused icons. For the most part, the ideas are pretty similar to the final iterations, but some designs were touched up a bit, namely the Monkey Wall Street upgrade, where the tower looks quite different, as well as Banana Central, where 2 capsule things went from housing a banana tree each to there ultimately only being one round dome filled with bananas instead. And now, last up for this video, we got a few balloon types that are unused in the game. The first of these are fortified versions for almost every balloon type. Now in the game, only the ceramic, lead, golden, and Moab balloons are ever seen fortified, leaving the rest of these unused. Interestingly enough though, these other fortified versions did actually appear in the game's free play mode way back in the version 1.0 release, but they were promptly removed in any playable form in the next version 2.0 update. That said though, these graphics did remain left in the game all the way up until the version 24 update, so maybe the developers did once at least consider to bring them back, but with their complete removal now, I'd say these balloons aren't gonna get popped by the monkeys anytime soon.
Now while those fortified graphics were removed in the version 24 update, that same update added the shielded balloon graphic which, although still hasn't been implemented, was apparently to be overlaid on top of other balloon types.
And to this day, the effects of this shielding are still unknown, leaving fans to just speculate. And that, my friends, is about it for Bloons TD 6, at least for now, and I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and also be sure to check out EazySpeezy's channel, his stuff is great. And as always, thank you all so much for watching today, and I will see you in a bit.